My husband and I bought a house next to the bullies of the neighborhood. We stood up to them when they tried to steal some of our land, and we won. He laughed whenever Joe and Rose gave him a hard time and accused him of trespassing. We also bought a surveillance camera, and I was able to document the neighbors' bad behavior. They continued to park their van past the string line and were adding their own stakes at strange places. We just removed them. Around this time, we had drinks with another neighbor, Matt, from down the road. This was the only person still on speaking terms with Joe and Rose. Matt made it clear he had his own issues with Rose, mainly because she called the fire department whenever he had a small, permitted fire in his backyard. Matt explained that Joe and Rose still believed they had claims to adverse possession and planned to hire a lawyer to claim this land. And, if by some chance they failed, they planned to charge us thousands of dollars for the costs they'd incurred several years ago to remove 5 large pine trees along the property line. They removed these trees as the roots were damaging their driveway. They felt that if we wanted to claim additional land, then we should incur the costs to remove these trees as they technically belong to us. According to an old aerial view of our properties I received from our surveyor, it looks like the pine trees were planted decades ago on the property line. I now suspect the chain-link fence was simply installed in front of the mature pine trees. It's likely those pine trees wholly or partially belonged to us. Either way, Joe and Rose had failed to secure our permission to remove them. Not only were we under no obligation to pay for the cost to remove them, but we had a perfect counterclaim had they tried. We would claim damages for the removal of the trees. The best thing Matt told us was that Rose was so angry at the police for how she'd been told to go back into her house the day they contacted them. She'd called their sergeant and filed a complaint against them. In keeping with her penchant for calling the authorities on everybody, she even called the authorities on the authorities. At least she's consistent. I made a mental note to make sure to ask for the same police officers if I ever needed to call them back, knowing there'd be no love lost between them and the neighbors. True to their word, the neighbors hired a lawyer. The whole neighborhood saw him arrive in his suit and briefcase. He must have told them they had no claim to adverse possession, and they couldn't charge us for the cost of removing the trees, because nothing happened.